I got a photo back here of a PLA fighter. But if you remember, during the initial major arms transfers between modern Russia and China, the Su-27 Flanker, Su-30, Su-35, their SA-10, SA-20 surface air missile systems, the PRC would order like a full, 100 or 200 of these airplanes. They would take delivery on two, cancel the order, and then reverse engineer these things, and then sell them as J-11s and J-15s and such to the rest of the world, completely undermining the Russian economy. And so for a time there in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, arms sales between Russia and China were at a standstill. And so this is the kind of the milieu I walked into when I was talking to my Russian counterpart. So then we started looking into it. And then the most major issue here that we should talk about is Vladivostok. It doesn't take a whole lot of research to discover that Vladivostok has a Chinese name, Hai Shunwei. And it was called Hai Shunwei for 200 years, starting with the Treaty of Nerchinsk in 1689, where a strong Qing dynasty and a weak Moscow, the Qing took most of eastern Siberia to include Vladivostok.
Real quick, before we go on, I just want to put up on screen sort of a map of where Vladivostok is, so the audience has an idea. It's a major port that it gives China direct access to the Sea of Japan. Huge. So now that I think everyone has a context of what this is, please carry on.
Yeah, no, the strategic implications of not having access to the Sea of Japan at Vladivostok are impossible to underestimate. Oh, and while we're on that one, look at the border between North Korea and Russia. It excludes China. There's a 10-kilometer stretch of the, what was that? I'll think of it in a second. But anyway, there's a river that goes, and the PRC could actually, dredge it and run ships there. But Russia and China, or actually it was the Soviet Union and North Korea, built a very low bridge across the river there, the Tumangang, I think. But they built this bridge, so there's no chance. They could dredge the heck out of it. They couldn't get a boat under it. I mean, these are so obvious signals that most of us miss that I hope to elucidate today. And so in 1860, when you think of the unequal treaties, the beginning of the century of humiliation and all those things, it kicked off with the unequal treaties. This one, the Treaty of Peking, it's called. And there were three signatories. What are the two we all know about? Well, British and then French, right? No one talks about the third signatory, which is the Russians. And when they signed that piece of paper, it took Vladivostok back. So as of 1860, Hai Shunwei reverted back to its the name, or it picked up the name Vladivostok. So that's a big deal. And my Chinese counterparts, when I talked to them about this, they're like going, we don't want the netizens talking about this, right? Rather than claiming the entire South China Sea based on these spurious Ming shards of China, on the subterranean or submarine floor. I mean, those are really hard claims to substantiate, but their claims to Vladivostok are pretty valid when you think about it. So that right there is an area that both the Chinese and the Russians recognize as a problem. You wonder why Putin hosted Xi Jinping in Vladivostok that time when they were making those caviar roll-ups. I'm pretty sure that was a poke in the eye.
I've been in search.
Hi, this is Neil's Han Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be kind, helpful, and grateful, because it's better than being a jerk. And buy yourself some silver and some platinum. I wanted to bring you guys this report to basically demonstrate China and Russia are not friends. They have not been friends for a very, 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 very long time, and there's a lot of contention. The thing that's bringing them together is the hatred of the U.S. Once that's over with, they're going to war. And I just want to let you guys know about it. I'm going to give you a few more minutes of this. This is from China Unscripted. It's actually a pretty good show. I'll give you a couple more minutes of it, and then let's see what's going to happen here, and then I'll cut it off. But back to the show.
Now that's interesting, because I know there's been a lot of history between the Soviet Union and Communist China, and it's not always been good. But I always kind of thought that Putin and Xi might actually kind of like each other. Like, there's the friendship medal Xi gave to Putin. I think Putin gave Xi a bunch of Russian ice cream he liked
for his birthday when they were at some summit, I think.
But this is interesting that you're mentioning, like, oh yeah, they're rolling up these caviar rolls.
I do think it's lost on Putin. And then my favorite meme for this is the Economist cover from 2019 or 20, probably 19, of a small Russian bear sitting in the lap of a giant panda. And that drove a stake in the heart of Putin, which is probably suffering from right now, if the rumors are true. These are all things that point to the frictions in the fraught relationship. It's a marriage of convenience. Interests are only overlapping in a very small way. Here's another example. 2014, the invasion of Crimea in eastern Ukraine. We sanctioned the Russian economy. So Russia has no access to anything reasonable economically. So they need to sell. There's been negotiations on a pipeline called the Power of Siberia pipeline that had been stalled because the Chinese kept coming in lowball and the Russians weren't taking it. Well, interestingly, the Power of Siberia contract was signed in 2014 for $600 billion, which was, I think, far below. It's like a 10-year contract of just endless energy, far below what the Russians were asking. But they needed the cash, and their friends, the Chinese, came in and lowballed. I think that's still stuck in their craw. And I got a long list of these things if you want to run down.
Anyhow, I've said it on several of my videos. China and Russia are going to be scrapping, and it's going to be sooner rather than later. Because once America gets our crap back together, they're not going to want to hate us anymore. They only hate us because the administration we have right now weaponized the dollar. Once that goes away, they're going to be riled up and all full of spit and vinegar, and they're no longer going to have us to spit on because we're going to be like, we're having a new administration, things will change. And they're going to go back to these multiple issues they've been quelling for over a century, some less, most less, some more. And it's just going to get out of hand because, like I said, everyone's saying China is going to go to war with someone. You're right. They're going to go to war with someone. And it's probably going to be Russia. And if this truly is end of days, it will be Russia. You guys have a nice evening. Remember, be kind, helpful, and grateful. Buy some silver and platinum. Have a good evening.